Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Samech Dalid Amud Beis at the new Mishnah. Our Mishnah continues to discuss various things that a woman can go out with on Shabbos. Says the Mishnah, Hayoitza isha bechutei seyar. A woman can go out with strands of hair that are detached, that are now tying her hair together. This is in contrast to the first Mishnah in our parak, which says a woman cannot go out with chutei tzemer or chutei pishton, either strands of wool or strands of flax, of linen, that are holding up her hair, because those things the Chacham were concerned about, that maybe she would have to go to the mikvah and they would present the problem of a chatzitza, whereby she would take them off and may walk daled amos in the Rishus HaRabim. In contrast to that is our Mishnah, because chutei seyar, if it's strands of hair, they do not provide a problem of a chatzitza, and therefore there's no concern that they will remove them. The Mishnah describes bein mishelo, bein mishel chaverto, bein mishel behema, whether these strands of hair are from her own hair, or they're from her friend's hair, or they're from a behema, an animal's hair, like horse hair. All of these things can be worn by a woman to go out in the Rishus HaRabim on Shabbos. Uvetoitefes ubesarvitin bisman shehein tfurin. And a totefes, which is a sort of head plate, like a headband, and this band would go from one ear to the other ear across her forehead, and also sarvitin, which was also wrapped around the head, then having strings that would go to her down her cheek as a form of an adornment. In contrast to the first Mishnah in the Perek, which we said she cannot go out with those because those things were not stitched to her head covering, whereby she may take them off and show her friend walking daled amos in Rishus HaRabim. So the Chacham said that's aser. However, in our Mishnah, since they are tfurin, they are stitched to the head covering, there's no concern that she will take them off. Because if she would take them off, she'd have to take off her hair covering, and certainly she doesn't want to reveal her hair in public. The Mishnah goes on to say, bekavul uvepeya nochris lochatzir. The kavul, which you said is a woolen cap, and peya nochris, peya, a sheitel, referring to a patch of, let's say, hair that which she would put on top of her head to then show that she has more hair as a way of beautification. The Mishnah over here emphasized she can go out with these things in the Chotzer, not in the Rishus HaRabim, but the Chotzer. And that was really the diuk in the first Mishnah in the Perek, which says a kavul, she cannot go out in the Rishus HaRabim. The other things don't mention that. So the diuk was that she cannot go out in the Rishus HaRabim, but she could go out in the Chotzer. So too over here the Mishnah adds peya nochris. The Gemara will explain why so. B'moich sheba oizna, the Mishnah goes on to say, a moich, if a person puts something in their ear, let's say like cotton in the ear to absorb leicha, some hafroshois, uvemoishe besandla, or also some cotton, something soft in the sandal in order to then make it more cushiony as not to be abrasive to the foot. Uvemoishe hiskina lenidasa, and a moich, like a moich that a woman prepares herself for nida, which refers to normally in this day and age as a pad, that also can be gone out with in the Rishus HaRabim. The Mishnah goes on to say, bepilpel, here we're talking about peppercorn. If a woman has, or a man for that matter, has bad breath, he can put this inside of his mouth and he can go outside with this on Shabbos. Similarly, uvegalgo melach, person has a problem with his teeth, a sore gums. So one of the remedies that they would use would be a glop of salt, a clump of salt that they would put in that area. So a woman or a man can go out with that as well on Shabbos. They call davar shenitin l'toich piyah, or anything else for that matter that would be a remedy for the teeth or the gums that a person would need to put in his mouth. He can go out on Shabbos, bilvad shelo titin l'chatchila b'Shabbos, providing that it was not put in the mouth on Shabbos. Then it would be a problem of a zera of shchika samamonim, the Chachamim were concerned that would be like a remedy that a person ultimately is prohibited from doing so because it's a refuah on Shabbos. V'im nafal loy tachzir. And if indeed it falls out, therefore, let's say, falls to the ground, one cannot put it right back in the mouth for that reason, because then it looks like he's going to then be doing a remedy on Shabbos. Others explain that the reason why it's only going to be appropriate if it was put before Shabbos and not on Shabbos is because if a person sees you putting it on Shabbos, they might think that you're just putting it in your mouth to then carry it somewhere and using it as a way of then getting to another place with it as opposed to carrying it in your hand. The Mishnah concludes, Shein Toseves rather, a false tooth, Shein Shel Zov, Rabbi Meir says it's matir. Rabbi rather says it's matir. That a person who has a false tooth that's gold, so Rabbi says that it's mutter to go out with that. However, the Chachamim say it's prohibited because since it's a false tooth made out of gold, it looks clearly different than the rest of the teeth, whereby a person may get self-conscious and people may then look at him funny and thereby he might take it out and walk down to Amos in the Rishus HaRabim. Rebbe was not concerned about that as a golden tooth, since he says that's not considered to be something that's so unusual. Says the Gemara, going back now on the reish of the Mishnah, that says that a woman can go out with seyar, with hair that is attached to tie up her own hair. But the Mishnah said there are 3 different types of hair. Either her own hair can be used, the hair of her friends, or even the hair of a behema. Ask the Gemara V'tzricha, and it says the Gemara V'tzricha. We need all 3 cases. Because if we only had the case where it's her own hair, mishum d'lo mo'is, then we say because it's not disgusting to her, she would not take it off, and therefore there's no concern. She's able to wear it in the Shus HaRabim. Aval chaver demois emoloi, but her friend's hair, maybe she would become disgusting, thinking that, wait a second, this is not my hair, this is my friend's hair that I'm using, and then feel self-conscious by taking it off, and that would be usher, because she may then walk with it. So the Chachamim had to then tell us even her friend's hair is permissible. V'yashmin de chaverto de bas minohu. If I only taught her friend's hair as well as her own hair, I would say that's because it's similar to her own type, and therefore there's no concern that she would take it off on Shabbos. However, v'yashma'inan avad de behema la bar minohu emoloi. But if it was an animal's hair, since it's not the same type, I would say that she cannot go out with it because she may then see that there's a contrast and people then may look at her and she'll feel self-conscious and then take it off, whereby that would be perhaps osir. Kamash malan, our Mishnah teaches that even that is mutter. So again, in summation, all 3 of these types of hair is mutter to go out with if it's tying up her hair, whether it is her own hair, her friend's hair, or the hair of a behema. Tana, the Gemara now brings a brayso that adds ubilvad shelo teitze yolda b'shel zikena v'zikena b'shel yolda, providing that a young woman does not go out with an older woman's hair, meaning that a young woman doesn't go out with gray hair, and the old elderly woman doesn't go out with young hair, meaning black hair, dark hair. So Gemara says, why do we need this brayso to teach me both cases? Bishlamaz keina b'shel yada shvachula. I understand why I taught the case that an elderly woman cannot go out with young hair, meaning let's say like black hair, because indeed it's a shvach to her, and therefore one would then need to then exclude that case and say that we might think that the contrast would cause her then maybe to be self-conscious and take it off. Kamash malan, it's mutter. Why do I need to teach me a case of a young woman going out with gray hair? That's certainly something that's genai hula. It's a genai for her, and therefore she would certainly then not want to go out with that. So Gemara says, no, I did it, and therefore there would not be a concern. Why? Certainly I would know that that's going to be something that is us, so that she would take off, perhaps in the Rishus HaRabim. And therefore, why did the brayso teach me that she cannot go out with gray hair if she's a young woman? Aidi the Tani Zakena Bishel Yoda Tananami Yoda Bishel Zakena. The Gemara answers that it's agav, that since we're already teaching that an elderly person cannot go out with black hair, with a young person's hair, so then agav, even though there's no real chiddush, we teach that a young person cannot go out with an elderly woman's hair, meaning a gray hair. The Gemara now quotes our Mishnah that says, "Bekavul ubepeya nachris lechotzer." We said a kavul is a wool cap, and peya nachris a sheitel type, where there's hair that is compacted on the head, showing that she has more hair than she really does as a beautification. She's allowed to go out in the chotzer, and the diuk we said is not in the Rishus Harabim though, as the Mishnah in the beginning of the parak began and taught us. Says the Gemara to comment, Omar Rav, Kosha Osru Chachamim, Latzeis Bo Rishus Harabim, Osru Latzeis Bo Lechotzer. According to Rav, all of the things that the Mishnah says it's osur for a woman to go out in the Rishus Harabim with, it's similarly osur to go out in the Chotzer. Because after all, if a person goes out to the Chotzer, she'll get accustomed to then walking with it, and she may then make a mistake and go out to the Rishus Harabim. Chutz mikavul upeya nachris, with the exception, says Rav, of a kavul and peya nachris, this woolen cap and the peya nachris and the sheitel. There she can go out in the Chotzer, even though she cannot go out in the Rishus Harabim. Rabbi Anoni, and we'll explain why that is so shortly. Be'ezra Hashem. Rabbi Anoni bar Sosin Mishmei Rabbi Shmuel argues. He argues on Rav, and he says, Omar hakol ka bakavul. Everything is like a kavul. Just like a kavul you can go out in the Chotzer with, so too the other things. When it says you cannot go on the Rishus Harabim, you can go out though, however, in the Chotzer. Tnan, as the Gemara, our Mishnah states, Bekavul ubepeya nachris lechotzer. It emphasizes that kavul and peya nachris you can go out with in the Chotzer. Bishlam Rav Necha. According to Rav, it's very good, who says only those things you can go out in the Chotzer, but nothing else. Everything else you cannot go out with, not only in the Rishus Harabim, but also not in the Chotzer. El Rabbi Anoni bar Sosin kasha. But Anoni bar Sosin, who says that you could go out, a woman can go out with all of these things in the Chotzer, so then why does it emphasize that kavul and peya nachris in the Chotzer, if everything else also can be brought out in the Chotzer too? Answers the Gemara, Rabbi Anoni bar Sosin, Mishmei Deman Kalmar Lo. The Gemara further asks, so then who is he like? How can he go against this obvious diuk in our Brisa? The mashmos of our Mishnah rather is clearly that only these two things and nothing else. Answers the Gemara, Mishmei Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi. He said it in the name of Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi. Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi is a Tana who upoligi is a Tana, and indeed Rav Anani bar Sosin goes like his opinion. In other words, the machlokes Tanoim, whether other things you can go out with in the Chotzer or not. And he ascribes the opinion that you could, unlike our Mishnah that says that the other things you cannot go out in the Chotzer with the exception of kavul and peya nachris. Says the Gemara now to question and understand better, V'rav ma'ishna hani. Why are these two things different? Why, when it comes to the kavul, the wool cap, and the peya nachris, can a woman go out in the Chotzer with? Omar ulo kidei shelo tizgana al bailo. The answer is that a woman shouldn't become disdainful in her husband's eyes. Kidetanyo, like it says in the following brisa, v'hadava benidasa. The woman who's having a menstrual flow in her state of nida. Zekenim harishonim amru. The earlier sages taught shelo takchul. She cannot go out with eye makeup. V'loi tafkum, and not with rosy cheeks, meaning with blush. And she cannot wear colorful garments because she's in a state of nida. Until Rabbi Akiva came and he taught, if so, you'll come to have her become disgusting, to become disdainful in her husband's eyes, whereby he'll come to divorce her. Says Rabbi Akiva, so does it say, they then say in the Torah, what is it coming to emphasize? Benidasa tehei, she'll still remain in her state as a nida, even though she finished menstruating. until she then is toivel in the mayim of the mikvah, she remains aser as a nida. So these two things, the kavul and the peya nachris, are permissible, says Rav, for a woman to go out in the chotzer in order to then beautify herself, the minimum of beautification before her husband. Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Rav, kol makom she'osu chachamim mivnei maris ha'ayin afilu b'chadrei chadorim osur. Rav Yehuda said, the name is Rebbe Rav, that those things that the chachamim prohibited because of maris ayin, they're also prohibited not only in public eye, but even when a person is in his private quarters. For example, we saw in the Mishnah previously that a man cannot go out with armor, with a helmet that is gear for going out in a war with, because of maris ha'ayin. That, according to Rav, would be also prohibited for him to wear even in his chadrei chadorim, in his private room. Either because it may be seen by somebody who actually is in his private quarters, that he's unaware, that someone just walks in or happens to be there, or that he may himself make a mistake and go out in the public eye, or lo plug, they didn't make a distinction between whether it's in the public or in the private. Tnan, we have a Mishnah, v'loi bezug afal pishe pokuk. When it comes to a zug, a bell, even though it's stopped up, that doesn't ring. That's one Mishnah that says you cannot go out in the public with that. Whereas another brisa says that indeed a bell that is stopped up, that cannot be rung, can go around the neck and then go outside in the chotzer. Even though we have a brisa that said before, the Mishnah said before that otherwise. Seems to be a contradiction. Says the Gemara, it's a machloikis tanoim tanoihi. The Tanya, for the brisa says, shoitchon behema bechama avaloi keneged ha'am. If a person is wearing a garment in the rain, when he takes off, let's say, that garment, that jacket, it says, according to this Tanakama, he can take it off and put it in the sunlight to dry up, but not in the public eye. They shouldn't think that he did kavisa, laundering, which is prohibited on Shabbos, or on Yom Tov as well. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, Oisrin. How is Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon? They say it is osir. And therefore, even if it's going to be in your private quarters, nobody will see. Still, they hold to the principle that Rav said before, that kol chacham she'osru b'shum maris ayin is osir afilu b'chadrei chadorim.